The crimson sunset of Proxima Centauri B cast long shadows across the research outpost as Dr. Amelia Wright adjusted her environment suit and stepped out of the airlock. 6 months into the establishment of Horizon Colony, and this evening ritual still filled her with wonder. The alien landscape, a tapestry of rust-colored soil and strange, angular vegetation, stretched before her like a painting from another reality. Logging Xenobiological Survey 117, she spoke into her wrist recorder. Day 183 of Colony Establishment. Continuing observation of the Northern Valley ecosystem, with particular focus on subterranean activity following yesterday's seismic event. Amelia moved with practiced ease across the terrain, her equipment bag bouncing lightly against her hip in the planet's reduced gravity. At 32, she was considered young for the colony's lead xenobiologist, but her doctoral thesis on potential non-carbon-based lifeforms had caught the attention of the Interstellar Exploration Committee. When they offered her this position, studying actual alien life rather than just theorizing about it, she hadn't hesitated, despite leaving behind everything familiar. The comm unit on her wrist crackled. "Hey, Doc, don't forget dinner at the mess hall tonight. Director Patel wants all department heads present for the 6-month assessment." It was Thomas, her assistant and the colony's resident optimist. "I'll be there," she replied. "Just need to check something first." The something was a peculiar depression in the ground she had noticed yesterday, a perfect circle approximately 2 meters in diameter, with strange markings around its periphery. It wasn't there during her survey last week, and its geometric precision suggested it wasn't natural. As she approached the site, Amelia noticed the ground had shifted further. What had been a shallow depression was now a distinct hole, descending into darkness. She activated her suit's high beam and knelt at the edge, careful not to disturb the markings, intricate patterns etched into the soil that resembled nothing in their xenobiological catalog. "This is unexpected," she murmured, recording detailed scans. "Possible evidence of intelligent modification of the environment." Markings appear deliberate, suggesting. The ground beneath her shifted suddenly, crumbling away. Amelia scrambled backward, but too late, her right leg plunged into empty space, and then her entire body followed as the edge gave way. She tumbled into darkness, a short scream escaping her before impact drove the air from her lungs. Her helmet lights spun wildly before stabilizing. Amelia lay on her back, winded but intact, staring up at the circular opening now 3 meters above her. The environment suit had absorbed most of the impact, its status indicators all still green except for a minor breach alert on her left glove. "Thomas," she called into her comm, "do you copy? I've fallen into some kind of chamber." Static answered her. Either the comm was damaged, or something in the surrounding material blocked the signal. Pushing herself to her feet, Amelia took stock of her situation. She stood in a smooth-walled circular chamber roughly 5 meters across. Her helmet light revealed no obvious way to climb back up, but there was what appeared to be a tunnel leading away from the chamber. "Well," she said to herself, "in for a penny, in for a pound." The tunnel was tall enough for her to walk upright, its walls bearing the same intricate markings as the entrance. As she progressed deeper, Amelia noticed the ambient temperature rising steadily, unusual, given the planet's generally cool climate. More surprising was the emergence of a soft, phosphorescent glow emanating from the walls themselves, rendering her helmet light unnecessary. After approximately 50 meters, the tunnel opened into a vast cavern that took her breath away. The entire space pulsed with bioluminescence in shades of azure and violet. Stalactite-like formations hung from the ceiling, dripping with a viscous, glowing liquid that collected in small pools below. But most astonishing was what those pools contained. Creatures, dozens of them, sleek and sinuous, their bodies reminiscent of Earth's serpents but with significant differences. They ranged from 1 to 3 meters in length, with translucent skin through which complex circulatory systems were visible. Instead of scales, their bodies were covered in a fine network of sensory fibers that undulated independently. Where a snake would have a head, these beings had a broader structure with multiple appendages that resembled both tentacles and feelers. Amelia froze, torn between scientific excitement and primal fear. The nearest creature raised its front section, the equivalent of a head, and regarded her with what appeared to be sensory organs, not eyes in the conventional sense, but recessed points that pulsed with the same bioluminescence as the cavern. "Remarkable," she whispered, slowly reaching for her sample kit. "Completely non-mammalian morphology, yet clearly complex N." The creature moved with startling speed, closing the distance between them in a fluid motion that barely disturbed the glowing liquid. Amelia stumbled backward, her heart racing, but instead of attacking, the being stopped just short of her. Its sensory appendages flared, creating a hypnotic pattern of light and movement. Instinctively, Amelia extended her hand, the one with the breached glove, palm upward in a universal gesture of peace. The creature hesitated, then extended a single feathery appendage. When it touched her exposed skin, Amelia felt not the expected cold sliminess, but a warm, almost electric sensation. Images flashed through her mind, the cavern, the colony seen from above, herself as if viewed through different eyes. Telepathy, she gasped. Or some form of neural interface through touch. The connection broke as abruptly as it had formed. The creature retreated slightly, then moved in a pattern that seemed almost ceremonial. Other beings approached, forming a circle around her, their bodies pulsing in synchronized rhythms of light. Over the next 3 hours, Amelia remained in the cavern, documenting everything while attempting rudimentary communication. She nicknamed the species serpenoids in her notes, a simplistic term for a complex life form, but it would do for now. The one that had first approached her she privately named Vesper, after the evening star, as its bioluminescent patterns seemed more vivid than the others. By the time she realized how long she had been underground, the colony would be in full alert over her disappearance. Somehow, Vesper seemed to understand her concern. It led her to a different tunnel, one that sloped gradually upward rather than deeper into the planet. The new passage emerged just 50 meters from the colony's perimeter fence. As Amelia stepped out into the familiar crimson twilight, she turned to thank her guide, but Vesper had already retreated into the tunnel. Alarms sounded as she approached the fence. Within moments, the security team surrounded her, followed closely by Thomas and Director Patel, their faces masks of relief and confusion. "Where the hell have you been?" demanded Patel. "We've had search teams out for hours." Amelia couldn't suppress her smile despite their concern. "Director, I've made first contact. And I believe this is just the beginning of something extraordinary." That night, as the colony buzzed with the news of her discovery, Amelia sat alone in her lab, transcribing her notes. She paused, looking at the small mark on her palm where Vesper had touched her, a faint, star-shaped pattern that seemed to shimmer slightly in the lab's harsh light. "What are you?" she whispered to the empty room. "And what have you done to me?" 3 months had passed since Amelia's discovery of the serpenoids. What had begun as a scientific curiosity had blossomed into the most significant xenobiological study in human history. The colony's original mission objectives had been modified to accommodate extensive research on these intelligent beings, with Amelia at the helm of the newly formed Interspecies Communication Initiative. The serpenoids demonstrate a complex social hierarchy, Amelia explained to the assembled research team in the colony's main conference room. Her hands moved animatedly as she spoke, flicking through holographic images captured from the cavern. Their communication appears to be a combination of bioluminescent signaling, electromagnetic field manipulation, and direct neural interface through touch. Dr. Hiroshi Nakamura, the colony's chief medical officer, leaned forward with interest. "And you're certain these neural interfaces pose no health risk?" "We have limited understanding of their biochemistry." Amelia nodded confidently. "I've undergone weekly medical scans since first contact. Nothing abnormal has been detected." She didn't mention the star-shaped mark on her palm, which had neither faded nor caused any apparent problems. It seemed an insignificant detail compared to the magnitude of their discoveries. Director Patel, ever practical, steered the conversation toward security implications. What about their intentions? 3 months of contact, and we still have limited insight into their thought processes or motivations. They're curious, not hostile, Amelia insisted. Vesper in particular has shown remarkable interest in learning about us. The translation matrix we're developing shows promising. A sudden wave of dizziness interrupted her presentation. The holographic display blurred before her eyes, the room tilting at an impossible angle. Amelia gripped the edge of the podium, willing the sensation to pass, but instead found herself collapsing, the concerned voices of her colleagues fading as darkness claimed her. She awoke in the medical bay with Dr. Nakamura's concerned face hovering above her. The harsh white lighting made her eyes water. "Welcome back," he said, his normally stoic expression betraying worry. "You gave us quite a scare." Amelia tried to sit up but found herself surprisingly weak. "What happened?" "You collapsed during your presentation. You've been unconscious for nearly 14 hours. 14 hours? Alarm shot through her. "That's impossible. I've never." "I know." Nakamura checked the medical display above her bed. "We've run every diagnostic available. Your blood work shows anomalies unlike anything I've seen before." Director Patel entered, followed by Thomas, both wearing expressions that did nothing to calm Amelia's growing anxiety. "Doctor," Patel addressed Nakamura, not Amelia, "any conclusions?" Nakamura hesitated. "Nothing definitive. But..." He tapped a command into the medical display, bringing up a microscopic view of what Amelia recognized as human cells. Her cells. These were captured 4 hours ago. And these, he swiped to a new image, just 30 minutes ago. Even to Amelia's untrained eye, the difference was stark. The newer cells showed distinct degradation, their membranes breaking down in patterns that resembled accelerated apoptosis, cellular death. "Your cellular structure is deteriorating at an exponential rate," Nakamura explained, his clinical tone failing to mask his concern. "It's as if your cells are forgetting how to be cells." "Is it contagious?" Patel asked bluntly. "No evidence suggests so. We've tested everyone who's been in contact with Dr. Wright. This appears to be unique to her physiology." Thomas stepped closer to Amelia's bed, his voice low. "Could it be related to the serpenoids?" The question hung in the air like a physical presence. Amelia thought of the mark on her palm, the neural connection with Vesper, the countless hours spent in the caverns. "I don't know," she admitted. "But if it is, destroying our research won't help. Understanding them might be my only chance." Director Patel sighed heavily. "All contact with the serpenoids is suspended until further notice. The caverns are off-limits to all personnel." "No." Amelia struggled to sit up, ignoring the weakness in her limbs. "That's exactly the wrong approach. If this is related to them, then they might know how to reverse it. Or they caused it deliberately," Patel countered. "We can't risk." "They didn't cause this," Amelia insisted with a certainty she couldn't entirely justify. "Vesper wouldn't." Her words trailed off as another wave of dizziness assaulted her, stronger than before. The medical monitors beeped in alarm as her vitals spiked erratically. The next days passed in a blur of tests, treatments, and declining health. Dr. Nakamura tried everything in the colony's medical arsenal: cellular regeneration therapy, targeted immune boosters, even experimental nanites designed to reinforce cellular integrity. Nothing slowed the progression of what the medical team now called Amelia syndrome, for lack of a better term. By the end of the week, Amelia could barely leave her bed. Her once vibrant skin had taken on a translucent quality, blue veins visible beneath like rivers on a map. The pain came in waves, as if her very atoms were trying to pull apart from one another. "We're running out of options," Nakamura admitted one evening. He sat beside her bed, reviewing her latest test results with exhausted eyes. The rest of the medical bay was quiet, the night shift staff moving silently among the equipment. "I know," Amelia whispered. Speaking had become difficult as the cellular degradation affected her vocal cords. "How long?" Nakamura met her gaze unflinchingly. "At the current rate of progression, 3 days. Perhaps 4. Amelia closed her eyes, absorbing this. Not fear, but a profound sense of regret washed over her. So much left to discover, to understand. The Serpenoids. "Director Patel won't budge on the quarantine," Nakamura said. "The entire Northern Valley has been declared off-limits. Security drones patrol the perimeter continuously." "Then bring me my research files," Amelia requested. "If I'm going to die, I want to spend my remaining time doing something meaningful." Nakamura hesitated, then nodded. "I'll arrange it." That night, alone in her medical bay, Amelia pored over her notes and recordings of the Serpenoids. Her weakened fingers struggled to navigate the holographic interface, but determination drove her. If her condition was connected to the Serpenoids, the answer had to be in her research somewhere. Near dawn, as the colony's artificial lighting began its gradual increase to simulate sunrise, Amelia noticed something she had overlooked before. In recordings of Vesper's bioluminescent patterns, there was a recurring sequence that appeared whenever the creature was injured or in distress. The pattern was followed by other serpenoids approaching and secreting a viscous substance from specialized glands, a substance that appeared to accelerate healing when applied to damaged tissue. "They have their own medicine," she murmured, excitement temporarily overriding her pain. "Their own healing protocol." A soft tapping sound interrupted her thoughts. Amelia froze, listening intently. It came from the window of her medical bay, a rhythmic pattern that couldn't be attributed to wind or mechanical systems. With effort, she dragged herself to the edge of the bed and then to the window. The colony was still mostly dark, the perimeter lights casting long shadows across the alien landscape. At first, she saw nothing unusual. Then, a movement caught her eye. Something sleek and sinuous slithered along the base of the building, its body pulsing with familiar bioluminescence. "Vesper," Amelia breathed, disbelieving. The serpenoid raised its front section, sensory appendages flaring in patterns she now recognized as indicators of concern and urgency. It must have navigated through or around the security perimeter somehow. Amelia pressed her palm against the window, the same palm bearing the star-shaped mark from their first contact. Vesper mirrored the gesture from the other side, its appendages flattening against the transparent barrier. A jolt of the familiar electric sensation shot through Amelia's arm, weaker than before but unmistakable. Images flooded her mind, the glowing pools in the cavern, serpenoids gathering in concentric circles, a particular viscous substance being carefully collected. The message was clear even without words, Vesper knew she was dying. And it believed it could help. Amelia's heart raced despite her weakness. Would the colony leadership trust a non-human intelligence with her life when all human medicine had failed? Would they even have time to deliberate before her condition became terminal? As dawn broke fully over Horizon Colony, Amelia made her decision. With trembling fingers, she activated the emergency communication channel to Dr. Nakamura's quarters. "Hiroshi," she said, her voice barely above a whisper, "I need you in the medical bay immediately. And bring Director Patel." She glanced back at the window where Vesper remained, its bioluminescence pulsing in what she now recognized as a pattern of determination. Tell them first contact just became a lot more complicated. Outside, as if sensing the gravity of the moment, the alien sun cast long shadows across the landscape of a world still holding countless secrets, some of which might mean the difference between life and death for the human who had dared to reach across the divide between species. "Absolutely not," Director Patel declared firmly. The debate in Amelia's medical bay had reached an impasse. With Vesper, the serpenoid, waiting outside the window, Patel refused to allow an alien substance to be administered to Dr. Wright. Dr. Nakamura checked Amelia's vitals with growing concern. Director, conventional treatment has failed. She has hours, not days. Amelia's translucent skin revealed deteriorating veins beneath. Her breathing came in painful gasps, but her mind remained sharp. It should be my choice, she whispered. Dr. Eleanor Reeves, the colony's anthropologist who had been studying the serpenoids, entered the discussion. In many Earth cultures, venoms evolved into medicines. This could be similar. This isn't an Earth species, Patel countered. I trust it, Amelia insisted, her gaze fixed on Vesper, whose luminous patterns expressed agitation and urgency. The monitoring equipment emitted urgent alerts. Major organ systems are failing, Nakamura reported gravely. It's this or nothing. After intense deliberation, Patel finally yielded to Amelia's choice. The medical team moved Amelia to a small courtyard where Vesper could approach. The serpenoid slithered forward with careful movements, producing a small sac containing luminescent fluid. Through their neural connection, Amelia understood this was not merely venom but a precious life essence used by serpenoids for healing and communication. Security personnel maintained a tense perimeter as Vesper approached Amelia. With deliberate precision, the serpenoid extended specialized appendages similar to fangs toward her arm. The contact sent liquid fire through Amelia's veins. Her body arched in pain as the monitoring equipment erupted with alerts. Dr. Nakamura moved to intervene, but Amelia grabbed his arm with surprising strength. Let it finish, she gasped. The burning sensation spread throughout her body, yet through the agony, Amelia sensed something else, cellular activity where there had been only decay, a fundamental restructuring occurring at the molecular level. Vesper maintained contact, its bioluminescent patterns synchronizing with the strange glow now visible beneath Amelia's skin. The two beings, human and alien, connected in a profound biological exchange that transcended their separate evolutionary paths. Her cellular structure is changing, Dr. Nakamura reported in astonishment. I've never seen anything like this. As darkness claimed her consciousness, Amelia floated between life and death, human and alien, while Vesper's venom, now a gift rather than a poison, worked its mysterious transformation within her failing body. Amelia floated in a state between consciousness and darkness for 3 days. Occasionally, voices penetrated her awareness, Dr. Nakamura's clinical observations, Thomas's concerned questions, Director Patel's commands. But most interesting was her new awareness of Vesper's presence, a warm current against her mind. She could somehow sense other serpenoids as well, despite the distance. When Amelia finally opened her eyes, Dr. Nakamura was reviewing data nearby. Hiroshi, she called, surprised by her voice's strength. He rushed to her bedside. Amelia. How do you feel? Different, she answered honestly. But alive. Nakamura explained that her cellular structure had not only stabilized but developed remarkable resilience and regenerative capabilities never observed in human tissue before. Standing proved surprisingly easy. Amelia's muscles responded with new strength and precision. She could sense minute temperature variations, subtle vibrations, and electromagnetic fields throughout the colony, enhanced senses that processed information normally below human threshold. They walked to the observation room where Vesper had been kept. The moment Amelia appeared, Vesper rushed to the transparent barrier, its bioluminescence flashing with joy and relief. It's been waiting for you to recover, Dr. Reeves explained. Refuses sustenance, maintains visual contact with the medical bay whenever possible. Director Patel arrived with Thomas. The Oversight Committee has been informed, Patel said. They're sending a specialized medical team to evaluate everything. To evaluate me, Amelia translated. To determine if I'm still human enough. Before Patel could respond, alarms blared throughout the facility. On the security feed, multiple serpenoids approached from the northern valley, moving in coordinated formation. They're coming for Vesper, Patel concluded, reaching for her communicator. No, Amelia said with certainty, feeling a new awareness expand in her mind. They're coming for me. 20 minutes later, Amelia stood at the colony's northern entrance with Vesper beside her, facing the semicircle of waiting serpenoids. The largest one, with emerald bioluminescence, moved forward to meet her. Amelia extended her palm, now faintly luminescent itself. As they touched, a neural connection formed instantly, stronger and clearer than any she had experienced before. A flood of information cascaded through her consciousness, the serpenoid's history, social structure, and their understanding of what Vesper had done. Vesper had broken their equivalent of taboo, risking ostracism by sharing their life essence with a non-serpenoid being. The Emerald Leader extended additional appendages, creating a more complex neural connection that included Vesper. Through this three-way link, understanding crystallized, Amelia now carried elements of serpenoid biology that would continue to integrate with her human DNA, creating something entirely new. This integration was still in progress. The serpenoids could guide this process, helping her adapt gradually. But there was a cost. Amelia would never be fully human again. The changes to her cellular structure were permanent and would continue to develop in unpredictable ways. She would exist as something between species, unique, powerful in unexpected ways, but forever altered. Amelia didn't hesitate to accept their guidance. The emerald serpenoid acknowledged her decision with a pulse of golden light. Then, with ceremonial precision, each serpenoid secreted small amounts of luminescent fluid that pooled together on the ground. The leader guided Amelia to immerse her hands in the fluid. As she did, it absorbed through her pores, sending a cascade of awareness through her nervous system. Her skin briefly glowed with bioluminescence, tracing her circulatory pathways beneath the surface. When the glow faded, Amelia stood feeling more balanced within her changing body. She turned back toward the colony where the human delegation watched in stunned silence. "It's all right," she called, her voice stronger than before. "They're here to help." As Amelia walked back with Vesper beside her and the serpenoid delegation following, she felt the weight of what she had become, not quite human anymore, not quite serpenoid, but something new. A bridge between worlds, forged in the crucible of near-death and reborn through venom that had become an embrace of new existence. 6 months after, the integration event, Horizon Colony had transformed into humanity's first successful interspecies settlement. Transparent tubes now connected human facilities to a network of artificial caverns where serpenoids lived and worked alongside their human counterparts. Amelia stood at the observation deck, her enhanced physiology perceiving far more than the visible spectrum, electromagnetic fields, subtle vibrations, and the bioluminescent communication networks of the serpenoids. "The Earth delegation arrives today," Thomas informed her. "Are you ready? The Oversight Committee has sent their leading experts. They'll have difficult questions." "About me, you mean?" Amelia smiled. Her appearance had stabilized, skin with a faint opalescence, eyes that shifted between amber and violet, and subtle patterns of bioluminescence visible beneath her skin during strong emotions. But the most profound changes remained invisible, her cellular structure, neural network, and sensory capabilities far beyond human baseline. In the medical research facility, Dr. Nakamura reviewed holographic displays of Amelia's cellular structure. 6 months, and your cellular integration continues to evolve. Energy efficiency is now approximately 320% of human baseline. Which explains your reduced need for sleep and food, he continued. More importantly, your regenerative capabilities continue to improve at unprecedented rates. The real question, Dr. Reeves said, joining them, is whether these adaptations could be replicated in other humans without requiring the crisis that triggered your transformation. Based on current cellular activity, Nakamura added, we estimate your potential lifespan at 175 to 200 Earth years. And that's conservative. Before their discussion could continue, Amelia stiffened suddenly. She was receiving communication through her neural link with the Serpenoid Collective. Vesper and Luminar request my presence. Something important has developed. In the Serpenoid caverns, Vesper conveyed through their neural link that their monitoring systems had detected unusual rhythmic vibrations in the planet's deep crust that matched no known geological pattern. Communication, Amelia realized. These aren't geological events. They're signals. There's something else down there, another intelligent species dwelling deep within the planet. Returning to the colony, Amelia found the preliminary delegation already arrived. Dr. Amelia Wright greeted Dr. Josephine Blackwell, head of the Oversight Committee's Special Research Division. Your reports have been extraordinary reading. We have significant new information, Amelia announced. The Serpenoids have detected communication signals from a previously unknown intelligence deep within the planet's crust. We may be dealing with a third sentient species. As the colony mobilized to accommodate this new discovery, Dr. Blackwell pulled Amelia aside. Before we address this development, I need to understand what you've become. Not the clinical measurements, how it feels to have your consciousness altered by alien biology. Imagine the difference between seeing a forest as separate trees, and perceiving it as a single interconnected ecosystem, Amelia explained. My consciousness hasn't been replaced, but expanded. I perceive connections and patterns that were always there but invisible to normal human awareness. And has this changed who you are? Blackwell asked. Your fundamental identity, your values, your loyalty to human interests. That's what Earth really wants to know, isn't it? Whether I'm still human enough to trust, Amelia observed. My humanity isn't defined by my biology but by my choices, connections, and capacity for empathy. Those haven't diminished, they've expanded to include beings once considered alien. Later, as the main delegation shuttle approached, Amelia stood with Vesper on the observation deck. They're afraid, she said. Earth sees both opportunity and threat in what we've discovered here. Vesper's bioluminescence pulsed in response. Fear is natural when confronting the unknown. What matters is whether it leads to retreat or exploration. Through their neural connection flowed not certainty about the future, but a shared commitment to facing it together as pioneers of a new kind of existence that transcended the boundaries of separate evolution. As the shuttle descended, Amelia felt a profound sense of purpose. She was neither fully human nor serpenoid, but a living bridge between worlds, the first of her kind, but certainly not the last. The venom that should have killed her had instead embraced her, rewriting her existence into something unprecedented. With Vesper beside her and the weight of two species' hopes resting on her transformed shoulders, Amelia Wright stepped forward to meet humanity's representatives, not as the person she had been, but as the bridge she had become.